And I think the easiest thing to do is to fire Mike McCarthy. I mean, that was one of the most embarrassing, probably the worst playoff loss by a Dallas Cowboys team.
Oh,
I mean, right?
For sure.
At home, they had won 16 in a row. Green Bay was 9-8, and if it wasn't for the new playoff thing, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs.
Right.
They come there, they put up, 45 on you?
48.
48 in your own building. I mean, an embarrassing. Jordan Love played great, but it was an embarrassing. Dak Prescott was horrible. And so, Kerry, I want to say this. Firing Mike McCarthy's the easy part.
Right.
I want us to talk about Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Because that's where you have the issue if you're the Dallas Cowboys. He is now 2-5 in the postseason as a quarterback. Mm-hmm. They just can't get over the hump, can't get to the second round, right? They just keep, they just keep stumbling when people think they're going to have this run.
Yeah.
And their first 4 possessions were awful. I think there was a couple of punts, a pick six. Another interception.
Yep.
You know, before you looked up, they were down 27-0.
Right.
I'm convinced that the Dallas Cowboys cannot continue to go on any further with Dak Prescott. They must move on from Dak Prescott. I know that Jerry Jones, more than anything, he's already in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But he knows his full ticket will never be punched until that team can win a Super Bowl under his watch. Jimmy Johnson was the one that engineered all that when they were winning
for sure
25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Since Jerry has taken over the Cowboys as a mom and pop store, because that's what it is. His kids are there and all this. It's a mom and pop store.
Yeah.
They don't win anything. And Kerry, I know your first question out of your mouth, well, who are you going to replace him with and all that? I'll figure that out later. I'm not restructuring his contract. I'm not giving him a new deal. I'm not doing that. I'm looking to make a trade and move on from Dak Prescott.
You cannot figure that out later, Rob. You're talking about a franchise quarterback, right? Their franchise quarterback. Excuse me. Let me put that out there. Their franchise quarterback. On the market right now, there's nobody that you're going to get that's better than that, right? That's available. That's just not going to happen. If you were to draft a quarterback, you're going to have to wait a couple of years unless you luck up and get C.J. Stroud, right? Which is, we just saw that happen this past season, right? The kid comes in and defies all odds, and he becomes C.J. Stroud, right? But it just doesn't happen. There's so much wrong with Dallas outside of Dak. Dak is a problem, but there's so much more. And it starts from the top. When you look at the head coach, when you look at McCarthy, we already knew coming into this postseason there was a lot of questions about him just as a tactical coach and all the things that he's done in previous regimes and even here in Dallas. For him to have those guys not prepared and ready to go in this playoff hunt, the way they came out flat and scared and looked nervous, all the things they looked on that field, you got to start with him. And I know the quarterback is the guy. I know he is the guy that makes the engine run on the field, but they just weren't ready.
I give you that.
Yeah.
I give you that, and everything you said is true.
Yeah.
But the big decision, you got Trey Lance sitting there, and I'm just saying,
yep.
It ain't like he was drafted, they moved up, they gave up draft picks for him. The kid didn't get a chance to play. He played 3 games. Come on.
I agree with that, yeah.
Okay, he's played 3 games.
Yeah.
Everybody made a judgment. He got hurt.
Yep.
Played 3 games. Oh, he can't play. Really?
Right.
I'm sorry.
I'm with you on that, yeah.
We don't know what Trey Lance is, but guess what? We know what Dak Prescott is. I'm telling you.
That's true. I mean, and that's true. You're true.
At this point, I might have take the unknown rather than the known. The known means we're not going anywhere as long as he's quarterback.
Yeah, I hear you.
How many years are you going to do that? That's the problem, Kerry, is you know it. For Dak to say after the game, I suck. Thanks, Dak.
we saw the game.
We saw the game with you. You didn't need to tell us that.
Right. So would you open up the quarterback room and make it a competition with Trey Lance, or what would you do with that situation?
Nah, I would move to trade
you would just,
Dak Prescott.
Gotcha.
I got to get him out of a Cowboys uniform. I got to move on. Drastic times call for drastic. This is drastic. I'm not even acting like this is easy or this is what people do. No.
Right. It's
hard to find a quarterback. He just came off one of the best seasons he ever had.
Yes.
And then he lays a stinker. He turned to goo when the lights turned on, the bright lights.
And what you're saying is that's accurate, too. You could literally see it in his face. I was here watching it in the studio yesterday, and you could see him, once they fell behind, he's going to press because that's what quarterbacks do in that situation. But he looks like a deer in headlights, and it's crazy to see because for him to have played so well this year and just to revert back to not playing good football when it counts, it's something that needs to be studied, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
At some point you look at it and you have to go, okay, like this is not 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Been there 7 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time. I just don't know if you're Jerry Jones, like seriously. Jerry Jones, I mean, he's old. He wants to win again.
Yeah.
And this is not, if you could sit there really and go, okay, we'll get rid of Mike McCarthy and bring him back, dude, I don't know how you could really look at that and think that's going to work out for you. That's where I'm at with Dak, and I'm not saying there's not a place for him or there's not. Just sometimes you need to change the scenery, go somewhere else. But if you're the Cowboys, I don't know how that's going to be good for you to bring. You can't. What's the definition of insanity?
Yeah,
to keep doing the same thing and
over
expecting a different result.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is it, Kerry? How could somebody melt down consistently when the bright lights are on?
We talked about this before, but it's everybody's not built for those moments. They really aren't. And I think that separates them. That separates you being a good player to a great player, having those big moments in the playoffs. And Dak just hasn't had it, and he hasn't had it with multiple coaches too. So you also, what you said earlier, right? Like McCarthy's the obvious choice to get canned, right?
Right, that's easy, right?
But he's also had under Garrett the same thing, right? It wasn't like he was playing lights out with Garrett and then now he's reverted to being a bad version of Dak. Like he's had those things happen multiple times in the playoffs. So, I mean, I guess Dak said it probably perfectly, right? After the game, he said, if you're going to bag on McCarthy and what he did, you should bag on me. And I think that's another obvious thing. He said it himself, yeah.
Because he had to say that. He knows it's not just Mike McCarthy.
Right.
And I'm not one, you know me, I'm not trying to protect coaches. I think he should go.
Yeah.
But to me, that's obvious, like McCarthy. It's about getting rid of a star quarterback who just can't get it done when you need it most. That's where we are. Do you just bring him back and hope to – because I remember in Detroit when the Pistons had that run, they beat the Lakers in 2004. Sorry, Rob G. I know every time I bring that up, it's a sore spot for people who live in L.A. That Pistons team beat Shaq and Kobe.
That Pistons team was gritty.
That was a great team. Yeah. I covered all their games. But anyway, and they, if you remember, they went to the Eastern Conference Final like 6 years in a row.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, they had a great run, and they just couldn't. 3 years in a row, they couldn't get over the hump. And they made a change.
I was just about to say it, yeah.
And what they do, they got rid of Chauncey Billups and brought in Allen Iverson. And that's what I'm trying to say is they knew they couldn't, after 3 years in a row of not being able to get back to the finals, you can't bring the same team back and act like, oh, we'll do it again. That's where I think the Cowboys are.
No, I hear you, but let's play this. Let's play good cop, bad cop for a second here. With the San Francisco 49ers in the 90s, when they made the switch from Joe Montana to Steve Young. Steve Young couldn't win a playoff game for a while. The big clip when Steve Young finally won the big playoff game to get to the championship, he took the monkey off his back. There is a level of patience that a lot of times inside you have to have more than the outside. So as fans, as observers watching the game, obviously we want to see things happen.
Do you know why I couldn't be a doctor?
Why is that?
I don't have any patience. Okay,
there you go. But most people don't.
I mean, I can't do it. Let me give you this.
Yeah,
Prescott is set to have a $59.5 million cap hit in 2024.
Yeah, Steve Young wasn't making that.
Okay, there you go. The second highest in the NFL.
Yeah,
they're already $15 million over the salary cap, with their starting left tackle and center heading to free agency. Look at all of these.
Yeah.
And contract extensions are looming for Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb. One where Dallas has to do. Look at what you have. Your plate is a mess. You just had SpaghettiO with no bread to sop it up. Okay? And here's the other thing. They have to figure this out sooner than later. All right, we want to hear from you. 877-99 on Fox. 877-996-6369. It is the Odd Couple. What in the world should the Dallas Cowboys do? I think it's obvious. We know McCarthy's obvious to get the boot. I say the Cowboys should trade Dak Prescott, give Trey Lance and bring somebody else in as, you know what I mean, as a competition, and try something new at quarterback because this ain't happening.